or the teams or people who are with teams. Like if we come in with the A's, now we have that relationship, or you come in, whether it's going to be Sacramento or Vegas, we'll now have it. So it's the relationships really are the key, because these winter meetings, you'll realize, you'll start seeing, we joke around, it's a bunch of middle-aged men in Lulu pants, but it really is a lot of the same people year after year after year. You'll notice that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've even noticed people that I was in the minors with that were at different affiliates and now saying we were in, at the time it was short season ball. That doesn't exist anymore. But now when I was with the Orioles in short season, they're working in the department with the Nationals. Or another person's, we were in Bowie in AA, and now they are working out in Colorado, and they're one of the coordinators for the team now, right? So it's a full circle moment. I had that right there. I was walking through the bar restaurant area, and I had someone yell out to me, Ryan, and I go, "You got to be kidding me!" And then you hear the story of it, and then plus, like you say, you run in and you meet new people.
Well, there's probably people who have, let's be honest, because your family history, there's probably people here who have known you since you were a little kid.
Oh, I've gotten those too. I haven't seen you in 20 years, and
you were this big.
I was this. You were this big, and I remember the big thing, obviously the streak. And I go, I'm glad one of us remembers it. Why? I was 2 years old. Lights were on, but no one was home.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, I was adorable. It was really probably like peak for me. But it is cool to hear some of the stories and being involved with it, and now coming full circle to now start my own journey with what's going on and covering the game. And it's been fun. The baseball community is fun, and I think, honestly, I know the Soto move was the big move. I know Severino being one.
Severino, baby, we're making moves.
How about that? And I know people.
How shocked were you?
I'll be honest, it was not on my bingo card to see it, but it was. But I think it's great, right? I think what I hope for the winter meetings here moving forward, it feels like the whole winter in the baseball community, they were looking for something to start the excitement of it. So, in general, I think seeing more moves.
Audio is back on StreamYard. So for everybody out there in the StreamYard world, we're back. Ryan Ripken joins us. He has his own podcast now with surrounding. Well, we just say it's not solely around the Baltimore Orioles.
So we're based in Baltimore. We cover a lot with the Orioles. We even cover football season, but the backbone's baseball, right?
Well, you go Ravens?
We do in Baltimore, yeah. But our relationship, obviously, so why we did so much Orioles is, a lot of those guys are my former teammates. So it makes sense. Hey, Cedric Mullins, I know a lot of the ins and outs with you. I spent time during COVID in 2021 or coming out of COVID, and I'm in spring training, and our locker room is Jordan Westberg, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and we're just all in this small space. And you get to know guys intimately, plus all the years of playing with. So started there, but I'm a baseball guy. I love it. So I get to experience that, and we want to grow. And you talked about making the relationships. Our setup is about 3 to 5 minutes walk from where the road team comes in. I'd love for teams to be comfortable coming in and talking about stories. And one thing I love the most, actually, maybe it's just a journey. I love a good minor league story. We had Buck Showalter on recently, and Buck's talking about how the driver had an issue. He had a bathroom emergency is what we'll say. Buck was in AA at the time playing and said, hey, kid, can you drive the bus for me? I need to take a break. And Buck goes, well, I've never driven a bus before, but I guess I'll have to. So he drove the bus around the Tennessee Mountain there, gone for 40, 45 minutes and came back. Don Mattingly's on the team on the bus. And I think a couple other Hall of Fame caliber players, all-star big names. And Buck's like, those are it. We had Stephen Vogt come on to talk about some of his stories, right?
Wait. So you got Buck Showalter driving the bus.
Yep.
And you got like some of the future biggest names in baseball.
Yep.
What possibly could go wrong?
What could go wrong, right? But everyone has a story with that. So even it's really cool. And I just love the way that teams are constructed. I admire what people do. Stephen Vogt came on, talked to him about, and you guys had obviously the connection here. I loved his ability and how he was as a personality, as a player. That's a tough transition. So first off, player to manager, that's a hard thing to do so quickly. But then one phrase that I really love is, in this game, you got to be a manager of people. And I think he does such a good job of that. And I can see why he had success this year and why I think the Guardians are going to be a team. I guess I'm a baseball junkie.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's why we're all here.
Well, think about, we talked with Steven, you'll hear it a little bit later.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, and of course we've been a part of it with him, right? So it was his last year with the A's.
Mm-hmm.
He did the interview right before the last game on the show. He breaks down, he cries.
Yeah.
He then hits a home run in his last at bat. Then the next year, he's in the bullpen as a coach for the Mariners. We have him on this show. Hey, how's it going? And then third year, he's now manager of the year for the Indians. So 3 straight years we've had this dramatic thing with him, and it's been a lot of fun. It's to watch people's journey. I'm thinking about how old are you?
31.
So yeah, you would have played with a lot of these guys that are with the Orioles now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So your journey has been a part of their journey. Obviously, you wish it would have gone as long as them.
For sure.
But to watch these guys that you were in the minor leagues with have this success with the Orioles has to be awesome for you.
It is. And that's also why, for my background, I got to AAA in 2021 and then things just didn't work out. And that was the end for it. I retired
Still a
in 22.
big deal to get to AAA.
Well, I appreciate it. It was fun. I think when you're done playing, you don't remember all the times where, I will say you remember the times you went 0 for 4 or you had the golden sombrero. I remember that. I had 3 hits the day before and I thought I had everything figured out. And then I went 0 for 5, 4 Ks, and had a chance to win the game twice. But who remembers those things on a game on April 7th of 2019, right? Who remembers those games? But really, it's the memories and the people that you spend it with. And that's why with these Orioles players and even other guys, Dale Hernandez going to the A's.
Yeah.
I got to see him when he was younger over with the Orioles because that's where he started his career. I love to see what they go through because I think that's the other side. That's what I try to peel back is what it takes to get there, what the struggles can be. And then also I love the Orioles. I want them to do well. I want them to go and win the World Series. I wouldn't say it's a curse, but break a streak of 41 years. That's how long it's been since the Orioles have won. But I want it more because of the people.
I was a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I'll tell you what, my dad was his second year in the league. And he won the MVP. They won the World Series, and he went, man, I can't wait to do this again. I'll be back.
Think about that. You got Eddie Murray. You got all those great players. Ken Singleton. You had Palmer. You had all those great players.
Exactly.
Your dad won it in his second year.
And never went back. And only the postseason, 96, 97, those years.
Yeah, it's just that's why I like the Juan Soto thing. People, you have no idea what Juan Soto will win in 15 years with the Mets. You have no. But for you, growing up and this franchise means so much to you, where are you now with having success and the new owner's there? He's said all the right things, but where are you? Come on, man, we got to go. It's now. Yeah. Seize the moment. I understand Mike Elias and Sig Meidel's actually, he's from San Jose, California, where we live. So we've had him on the show before. I get it. You want to hold on to prospects and hold on to this, and you're looking for a long run. But where are you with let's go, boys? The time is now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's looked at 2 different ways, and people look at ownership in the past with the Orioles of history saying they don't like to spend a ton. Besides that Chris Davis deal, where unfortunately it didn't work out the way everyone hoped. And to be honest here, most cases like those moves, you're paying for what they've done, not what they're going to do in the future. At least that was the deal for me with Chris.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to replicate those years that Chris Davis had prior.
He earned that, and he was a monster.
And that's the point. They earned that money, that contract. But then, what was going to be the shelf life for Chris Davis moving forward? And unfortunately, it fell off pretty dramatically. The Orioles, they are going to be aggressive. They want to make the moves, but how do you do that? In this case, what I mean by that, first off, you have a young core. So you got to let some of those guys continue to play. You bring in a veteran or you bring in a big name that then stops the development of some of those young guys. Are you making a decision that those young players aren't a part of your system or your core moving forward? Because that's a big part of it. A lot of the guys this past year had to fail more. Colton Cowser came up in 23 and had to learn how to figure out to be a big leaguer, didn't play every day. And then the next year in 24, this year, figured it out, almost wins the Rookie of the Year. Jordan Westbrook, similar thing. They made a step. So that's number one. Number two is, and this is where probably the same thing that the A's are dealing with for now, just take this all out of it. And maybe being out where the situation, maybe that can be more appealing. But let's talk about Blake Snell. I know the Orioles were interested. They were aggressive trying to pursue him. But let's just say LA, Boston, New York, Baltimore offer the same contract. You don't have a tie to Baltimore. I know what Baltimore offers. Say baseball, young nucleus, chance to win in the future. Great place to raise a family. It's not like The Wire or what everyone thinks. There's so many great things outside of the city.
Yeah.
But then
it's beautiful.
It's great. But then what makes you want to sign with Baltimore if you don't have a tie there? And Blake Snell, hey, I want to be out west, or I want to be in the other big markets. That's what Baltimore is going to have to deal with, is what makes you more attractive, more than just the baseball
side. Going to have to overpay.
Yeah. And then that's what people prioritize. Corbin Burns is in that situation right now. I really expect Corbin. If I was the Orioles, I would be frustrated if Corbin ends up signing with a AL team, when I think the feeling I have is he wants to go out west. That's what I'm feeling and indicating. He's a West Coast guy. But that's the part of it. So it's a good discussion, but make no mistake, the next 2 years, I think you're really going to see an Orioles team get aggressive and try to push the envelope here. It's just going to depend on who they're going to land in the process.
Yeah, because for me, growing up, and actually, if you, for a long-time A's fans, if you go back to the late 60s, early 70s, the A's and Orioles had massive battles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the A's won 3 straight World Series in 72, 73, 74, there were these huge battles against those Orioles.
Right.
And then for me, being a kid, talking about your dad winning his second year. I mean, the Orioles, there was the Oriole way. Even we've had your uncle on to talk about it, and your grandfather, and he the Orioles. It was the Oriole way. The Orioles were always a great organization. So to see them fall the way they did, for me, I'd like to see it back, because the Orioles were always one of the Orioles never seemed like a small market team. They were always seemed like a big market team.
Yeah, well, that was the thing for those times, the 60s, 70s, 80s, the 70s and 80s, really where that Oriole magic started to fully develop. And even the 90s, even when the team was still trying to get
payroll in the 90s.
Yeah, and it was exciting. And yes, you can say it was around, the streak was an exciting time, but the team was really good in 96 and 97. Baltimore is a baseball town, but when you don't win for a while, and it was dormant from 97 to 2012, the Orioles didn't have a winning season. And that's a hard thing to try to convince people. Winning cures a lot. And you can have a loyal, passionate fan base, but for that time, it was very, very challenging. Then you have a team like the Ravens in Baltimore that are contending almost every year.
Yeah.
So there's a glimmer of hope. I'm hoping now we're seeing that excitement come back in Oriole fans. You're seeing that hope come back here. Now, I hope, for everyone's sake here, they win a playoff game next year. They win a playoff series. The Orioles now, I believe, are, since the ALCS against the Royals back in, I'd like to say 15, was it? They've lost 9 straight in the postseason. Not ideal. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to overcome here. And then obviously the tough exit against Kansas City this year. So Baltimore's a baseball town. I think that people sometimes forget that. You don't forget that, which I appreciate here.
No. But I also worked for the Raiders, and I've done a Ravens game, and I have all the ultimate respect for the run that John Harbaugh's on. You talk about a head coach and a run in the NFL. John Harbaugh has been great. Hey, but before we let you go, you were only 2 during the streak?
That is correct.
Because I remember, so what is it, your sister? You have a sister?
I have an older sister.
She's the older, because remember you guys right by the dugout. Man, that sucks that you don't remember.
Hey, you know what? It's
the country. It was just everyday working men. It was more than just baseball. It was like, hey, a guy shows up there. I was around on the field for when your dad did his last game in Oakland, and he was doing that tour.
I think I was there for that game.
It was really special. Gave him all the wine and everything.
Yep.
But it was like, man, that sucks you don't remember it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I think in that last game out in the Coliseum, I believe I might have thrown out a pitch to the Giambi brothers. The Giambi brothers. I think they're on the team at the same time. It was Jeremy and Jason were together. Got to check. Might be losing my mind. I was still young then. I was 8 at that time when he retired. But you know what? Chris Berman called the game for ESPN that night. I had Chris Berman on for an interview a couple weeks ago. And I love hearing the stories from that perspective. That's how I get to
Yeah.
live that moment and actually remember it. But I also love Chris Berman talking about President Clinton's coming to the box, and they say that there's 2 snipers on top of the stadium, and they're saying, hey, don't make too many sudden movements when the president comes in. If you drop this pen right here, don't be so quick to go down and get it.
Wow.
You know, things like that. And also Chris Berman, he says, I like to talk, I like to yap. But he goes, Ryan, I won an Emmy for that moment, and I didn't say a word. And I go, that's pretty ironic.
It was
Chris.
a big deal.
It was.
Because the president of the United States, that's how big the streak was. So I'll tell you what, with the Orioles, for years, Jim Palmer's always been very gracious to us.
He's great.
Love Ben McDonald.
Oh, Big Ben is amazing. If you talk to him about the Gator stories, have you talked to him about his Gator stories?
Well, we talked a lot of LSU with him, but not about the Gator stories.
Next time you talk to Big Ben.
Write that down, Gator stories.
Go talk about that's how you become a man down in Louisiana. You go Gator hunting.
Well, we'll tell you this. We got to have you on again.
Hey, whenever.
You're fantastic.
Whenever you want, you let me know. And when you guys come to Baltimore, I got to show you around some places.
Where can people find you?
So it's just Ryan Ripken Show, Ryan Ripken Media on YouTube. I'm at Ryan Ripken Show on X and Instagram and wherever else. So not too hard to find. I hope not. Appreciate you guys.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Coming up next, we got Bob Melvin's going to show up, the skipper of the San Francisco Giants, right here on A's Cast Live.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's general manager David Forst joined Towny on A's Cast Live and explained what positions he is looking to upgrade this offseason.
Third base is always the spot that jumps out at us as sort of the most unsettled spot on the diamond from this past season, and that's not to knock any of the guys who got reps and ABs over there, but it's just a fact. It was the one place on the diamond where we shuffled a lot of guys through and aren't quite sure what the answer is going forward. So you've got Schumann and Hernandez and Harris as possibilities there. You potentially have Max Muncy as an option there if Jacob's going to play shortstop. But the reality is we need to figure it out. So as we look out there, what's available, that's a spot we're keeping in mind. Not unlike every other offseason, pitching is at the top of our mind. And we did such a good job putting the rotation together this year. And JP continues to be the constant at the top of our rotation and the guy you can count on. And Beto and Spence and JT and Estes, all these guys did such a good job stepping up, essentially doing more on the major league stage than they'd ever been asked of before. So starting pitching, continuing to augment the bullpen is always going to be, a priority for us. But it is nice to sort of feel like the spots that I haven't mentioned, maybe there's an answer there that's going to be there for a while.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
It's mid to late June, I think, is kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June that up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise, and to my approach that series in Anaheim for the rest of the year, I was able to remain much more consistent in the fact that, like, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those between those streaks of power, between those, little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walks. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on, hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the pennant race action and the upcoming NFL and college football seasons. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
For 175 years, Comerica has thrived through every rise and fall. We've lived through triumphs and turmoil, witnessed every advance, and survived every setback. Through surety and uncertainty, we've stood the test of time by standing by our beliefs, our values, and our customers. Comerica Bank, 175 years strong. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Well, sitting next to me here at the winter meetings is a man that has meant a lot to me in my career. We did this a lot for many, many years, and we wish him nothing but the best across the bay in San Francisco. They just signed a big free agent. We had Bobby Evans recently on. But Bob Melvin is with us once again. How are you, Skip?
I'm good. It's good to be here. See the green and gold. Always have obviously a soft spot there. So, like you said, a lot of A's cast together. You, me, and Cody did a lot of work together, and I miss it. And so whenever I get a chance to come on, it's an easy one for me.
You are the winningest manager in franchise history.
Well, I was lucky enough to be there for quite a while. So, you know what? Kotsay will be knocking on that door, pretty soon as well. And what a great job he does. But that's one that, when I'm done with baseball, it might be as important as accomplishment as I'll ever have in my career.
Well, you mentioned Mark Kotsay. We had Scott Emerson on earlier. I mean, you look at everybody in our organization. it's still all these people that you have touched their career. So I know this organization still means a lot to you because a lot of the foundation and the people that are here are people you mentored and worked with.
The coaching staff was basically the coaching staff that I had. And that all starts with continuity, within the system. And it started with Keith Lippman. He's such an important guy in my career, and kind of is subtly one of the most important guys in probably A's franchise history. And he was the one that told me, look, if we're going to do things well with some of the restrictions we have here, there has to be good communication, good continuity within the organization. When I first got here, I brought in a couple coaches from outside. And after that first hire, we brought Chip Hale in, who was a Bay Area guy and so forth. I brought Matt Williams in, but, Lip was the guy that said, look, if this is going to work here, just like players who come up through the system and are inspired to be in Oakland A, it's the same thing with the coaches here. And then every hire after that came within the organization. Those guys are still there, and they're very inspired, and a big reason that this organization does well with some of the restrictions it has.
Yeah, you want to build it the right way, and I get the sense now over in San Francisco that's what Buster Posey is trying to do, because obviously Buster was around when there was 3 World Series titles, and there was unbelievable continuity when you looked at the manager and you looked at Brian Sabian and you got Bochy. Just that ecosystem was very healthy. You guys trying to build that again?
There was a Giants way. There was an A's way. And when you knew coming in that, this is the way it was. Nobody's going to come in here and change things. There's been success and there's a hierarchy here that there's a certain way. And that just leads to success. It leads to continuity. It leads to being inspired. And that's the way it was in Oakland during my days there. So that's what I've learned. And that's what we're obviously with a guy like Buster. The entire staff came back less 2. We had 2 hitting coaches get head jobs somewhere else. We promoted within with Damon Meyerner, and then I got a guy from San Diego and Oscar Bernard, but trying to remain basically the same coaching staff. So the players, when they come in, they know what's expected of them. They know how the staff's going to be prepared. They're going to work, and they're going to be, guys are going to feel it, just like in Oakland.
So we know you have a great relationship with Matt Chapman. That deal got done. And then Willie Adames, that's like, he's one of one when you talk 20 jacks, 70 RBIs, 4 straight years, what he does defensively. Your left side kind of reminds you of the Simeon Chapman dynamic. Talk about defense. I mean, if you're going to challenge the Dodgers and challenge for that, you got to have great defense, and you got some offense there. Your left side's looking strong.
Especially in our ballpark. You played a lot of games there on the other side, certainly played a full year there. Man, it feels like it comes down to the last couple innings and a lot of one-run games, a lot of close games. Defense is a priority. If you kick a ball around late in the game, it's going to cost you for the most part. So that's something that we're really trying to target here. And then guys that just want to be there, are inspired to play. You see how Matt Chapman plays. If everything finalized with Adames in a few days and we do officially have him, the one thing I noticed about him on the other side when we played them was it always looked like it was the first game he's ever played in the big leagues. He's happy. He's inspired. He's just one of those guys that's really infectious in how he plays. And then you look at the numbers. A shortstop knocks in over 100 runs and plays great defense and stole 20-plus bases and just does everything well. It potentially, if this thing works out, it's a huge sign for us.
Yeah, so, it's funny. Recently, yesterday, we had Johnny Gomes here, and we talked about you. But Johnny Gomes is a great example. It's like everybody's so worried about the big-name guys and the money. I need 26 guys that are ready to rock. Every single day, ready for that fight, ready to go. It's what you had, especially like 2012, 2013. You don't have to have the biggest payroll to win, but you got to have the right guys who are willing to be in the fight day in and day out.
Amen. And guys that you want to have tough conversations about giving them a day off. Adames played 161 games last year. Chapman never wants a day off. And those are the guys that are leading the way. And when you have your core guys and your guys that are going to be in there every day and the younger guys that come up through the system or whoever comes into the organization, seeing how they play, that's the way we do it here. And it makes our job as coaches a lot easier.
What are the big plans for you guys here at the winter meetings? What you came here with the goal to do what?
Well, make our team better. And I think between, Buster and I kind of see the game the same way. Catchers tend to
catchers stick together.
We do. So that's really what, early on I was like, wow, he kind of sees the same things I do. and it's kind of the fundamental things that you need to do to win games. Yeah, there's a lot to be learned from analytics, but understanding there's a heartbeat, and there's certain type of players that are gamers that rub off and really influence the way other teams look at you. And those are the type of guys we're trying to bring in here. Maybe not the most household names in the world, but guys that other teams respect and know, oh, these guys are doing things a little bit differently. They're going to get after it.
Our beloved Ray Fosse, we used to talk about this all the time. People need to understand that when you are a catcher, you're looking out at everybody, and everybody's looking at you. It's really the only position in sports. I guess you make hockey goalies kind of like, but in baseball, everybody's looking at you, and you're looking at it. The way you see the game is clearly different than the way everybody else sees it as a player.
Without a doubt. And as far as the position players go, really the only position that deals with the pitcher too. So everybody is looking at you, and the energy thing from a catcher was something that was impressed upon me early in my career. And I was a backup guy, but even when I went out to catch the pitcher between innings, I jogged back to the dugout. One of my pet peeves is, the backup guy that day going catching between innings and then he's sauntering back to the dugout with no energy and stuff like that. The catcher needs to bring some energy because the rest of the group sees him and kind of feeds off that. That's why they call the catcher the quarterback.
So it's been very interesting, our lives, as you're down in Arizona in the off season, and I've now adopted your lifestyle, being at all the Cal games. I now know the Cal Bears. I'll be there for the bowl game on the 18th, as my daughter's now a cheerleader for Cal. It was an interesting football season. Pretty good one, though. You had to be pretty happy with Wilcox and what they did.
Justin Wilcox, I mean, I hope we can keep him forever. I mean, that's really an important guy in the Cal hierarchy as far as athletics go. And they're what, 4 games away with last play. I mean, they could have had a sensational year.
Correct.
So they were this close this year to being in a prominent bowl. And they do play UNLV, and Matt Williams went to UNLV, so we're gonna have a little something going on there. But you're living my life. You're going to all those games. It's really cool that your daughter's cheerleading and part of that whole thing, because it is really cool to be able to go on that campus and just kind of feel the vibe there, go to basketball games, go to football games. I lived in Berkeley for quite a while there and got to frequent those. I'd go to ride my bike to the water polo games and swim meets and all that type of thing. I do kind of miss that.
Well, I sent you pictures because you're the only guy who had the same pictures too.
I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
How proud were you college game day being there?
I got up really early for that one and watched every single bit of that. And it might have been, I'm a little biased maybe, but it might have been as cool a one to watch of any of those college game days. The kick that won the kid the money, and on top of that, and how everybody showed up for that thing. You expect those out of maybe some SEC schools and stuff like that, football schools. But for an academic place like that to embrace game day like that, I got goosebumps watching that. I get it right now.
Yeah, it was such a big stage for Cal, right? And to have the Miami Hurricanes there, they should have won the game. But it really changed, like, as much as so people wondered, like, oh, leaving the Pac-12, it just shows you ACC how big, and we're going to see now with basketball how much bigger a basketball conference this is. I think as a Cal guy, you have to be really happy the way this transition has gone.
No doubt, and I got so many texts and calls from people saying, wow, I didn't realize Cal was like that, after the game day thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's different. We're going to see some different schools. Unfortunately, I think Duke and North Carolina, we go on the road to see those guys. We won't see them at Cal, but it's getting to see some different teams. I do miss the Pac. I mean, I grew up with the Pac, but it is kind of cool to see how Cal stood up football wise in a different conference, and we'll see how basketball goes as well.
You look good, ready to rock.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, this is kind of the segue. Once you leave the winter meetings and then you get past Christmas, it's all about getting ready for spring training. So it's not too far off.
Happy holidays.
You
Enjoy
as well.
It with the family.
Always.
And I will be in touch, and I will say I miss you.
Well, I do too. And this is a big part of my life for a long time. When you talk about, the wins in Oakland history, that's something that's always going to be really dear to my heart. So I'm going to call you in December and January, and we're going to go some basketball games together.
I will be there. By the way, AL Manager of the Year, winningest manager in A's history. I guarantee you this. And it's going to be a little bit harder since you became the manager of the Giants. But once you're done with that, I guarantee I will make it happen that number 6 for you and Sal Bando will get retired.
Well, Sal Bando,
I guarantee
Sal Bando alone. I've always been honored to be able to wear that number, and I was happy that it was available in San Francisco too, because it's such a big part of my life, and it's just being able to wear that number is like the coolest thing ever.
You have my word. I will make that happen.
Yeah.
I will make it happen.
Only you could make that happen.
All right, buddy. Be well.
All right.
The great Bob Melvin right here on A's Cast Live. We got more coming up from Dallas at the winter meetings.
If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the big games. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that's been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
JJ Bleday was on A's Cast Live and explained what changed for the A's during the second half of 2024.
I think it was just like putting up good series against those good teams. We might not have won every single series, against those winning teams, but just like splitting series and taking 2 out of 3 against some good teams. We just had that swagger that second half of the season. And guys like Law, guys like Rooker, they just, like, some of these guys just went on some tears to absolutely just get us going and get in that mindset of, hey, we can compete here. We can compete with the best of them. Let's just like keep our head down and keep doing what we're doing, because things are going to turn around. We're going to get some dubs. That's what happened. And same with our pitching. Our pitching came in clutch in certain areas. Our bullpen came in clutch in certain areas. And we were able to put up runs. Like, I felt like there was a 1 month where it just seemed like we were putting up 12 runs a game. And it was that handing off the baton to the next guy, having good quality at bats. Not even though it's not a home run or a double or we're slugging, we're able to kind of have that long at bat. Get that guy's pitch count up on the rubber and really get in their bullpen and expose them as best we can. And it comes with just the mindset of feeding off one another, and then it speaks to our coaching as well. I think Darren, Kotz, Crony, they did a good job at really getting us in that right mindset come spring training, and it just paid off.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
Brent Rooker appeared on A's Cast Live and shared how he's embraced his role as a leader in the A's clubhouse.
It's special, man. It's something I enjoy because I really like watching the young guys kind of come into their own and figure out how good they are and make improvements, both on the field and their preparation as well, and their mental game as well, the way they think through things, the way that they think about themselves, the way they're able to keep their confidence up. And seeing those things kind of develop and then turn into the players that they're turning into is really cool. And for me to kind of be even a small part of that, by just kind of, I think a lot of the value that I have is the fact that I've played a bunch of different roles on teams. I've kind of done it all, right? I've been kind of the highly thought of prospect who's getting his first shot, and then I've kind of been the guy fighting for a roster spot, and then I've been the guy who's bounced back and forth between AAA and the big leagues, trying to kind of make the AAA success translate into the major leagues. And then I've been the everyday guy who is third and fourth, middle of the order every day. So I've kind of played every role you can possibly play on a team. And that allows me to kind of meet guys where they're at in terms of the points in their career and kind of be able to relate to them and empathize with what they're going through, what they're struggling with, and also kind of see what they're doing well and point those things after them. So I think that's something I enjoy doing, like I said, is talking guys through the situation and kind of where they're at in their career and helping them to hopefully kind of take that next step and become the next version of themselves.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
For 175 years, Comerica has thrived through every rise and fall. We've lived through triumphs and turmoil, witnessed every advance, and survived every setback. Through surety and uncertainty, we've stood the test of time by standing by our beliefs, our values, and our customers. Comerica Bank, 175 years strong. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Become an A's insider today. Visit athletics.com/newsletter and sign up to receive the latest team highlights, up-to-date news, features, and more, all delivered free to your inbox. That's athletics.com/newsletter. Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Oh, John Morosi, one of the best in all of baseball, covering our great game and about to get into a little hockey coming up.
Yes. I love being able to, at times in the baseball offseason, dive into hockey. So we've got on NHL Network, because MLB Network, NHL Network are teammates. We're all under one roof. And so I get a chance to do a little bit of hockey at this time of year with the World Junior Championships, which is a big focus of NHL Network. So I get to do some storytelling there. I'll be with Team USA next week. We'll see some Sharks prospects there, I'm sure, which I really enjoy getting the chance to learn about the next generation of talent, just as I love international baseball. So international baseball, international hockey, both passions of mine, and I'm really, really fortunate that I can cover both in one place there at MLB and NHL Network.
Look out for our baby Sharks. These babies, the young kids are starting to grow up.
Celebrini, I think he'll win the Calder. He has been dynamic. I really am impressed at his play away from the puck. You think about a young player, teenager, who comes into the league after 1 year of college, was I think the youngest player in college hockey a year ago, to come in and play this well, this responsibly, with just his outstanding awareness in all three zones is elite. So Macklin Celebrini, he's a treasure, and Will Smith's off to a pretty good start as well.
All right, before we get into any baseball, one more. Let's go to football. how all of your neighbors in Ann Arbor feeling about that game against Ohio State?
So it's been quite a fall of football in Michigan. A lot of Lions fans in my family wondering if it's safe yet. I would say not yet for them to start looking at travel arrangements for February in New Orleans. I'm not quite there yet, Towny, but it's really been a pretty extraordinary time for a lot of fans in Michigan. And then of course the Michigan-Ohio State game last weekend was fairly
Huge.
epic as well. So it's been a pretty exciting period of time of football in Michigan. Of course, Michigan, the reigning national champions, they're not going to repeat. We know that. But that one win for Michigan over Ohio State has a way of really validating the entire season. And for the Lions, the winning streak continues. And Dan Campbell trying to get back to that spot where they were against the Niners a year ago and maybe have a different result this time.
Before we get into the meetings, the podcast with all the Hall of Famers, how's it going?
Thank you, Towny. I appreciate you asking about it. So the Road to Cooperstown is our podcast. It's a collaboration between MLB Network Radio and the Hall of Fame, and I'm really honored to be able to host it. The guests have been extraordinary. The stories they tell have been really I feel very privileged that they're sharing them with us, because part of the idea of the podcast is that Hall of Famers will share the struggles they've had. And even for the Hall of Famers, even for the greats, think about Eckersley. He gave up the Gibson home run. There were things that he went through in his life away from the game. And part of it is speaking with these players about their journey and understanding that by appreciating what they've been through in life and in baseball, ups and downs, makes them feel both more relatable and also all the more exalted for having transcended those ups and downs that we all go through in life. Just because you wear a baseball uniform does not make you immune to struggles with mental health or different difficulties that you face during your journey. So that's been a real privilege, Towny, for the greatest players that we've ever been around to share those stories and for us to be able to communicate them to fans, and so they can understand their favorite players with a little different context and maybe feel a little closer to them, because they're not just the stats. They're not just the World Series championships and the awards they've won. They are people who have journeys that I think we have to always remember to share.
Yeah, it's not a baseball reference page, right?
No, exactly. It's so much more important.
But the thing is like where they are in life, which I think is so interesting now that you're capturing them, that as we all get older and these guys are now grandfathers and their life is different from when they were a star baseball player, how they can open up and reflect probably far different from when they were even in their 40s.
You're right. You hear different, and it's interesting. I love going back, Towny, and before I interview a Hall of Famer, I like to listen to their speech and then sometimes ask, because that speech stands alone as a seminal moment in their lives, and yet it's not their entire life. And indeed, one of my favorite questions to ask is, if you could do the speech again, what would you like to make more time for? And Jim Leland actually told me the story that, and this was, of course, just not long after he gave his speech last summer. He said, I felt so badly that I did not specifically acknowledge my siblings because I was up on the podium, Jim tells me, and I turned the page of my speech and I skipped the page. He skipped the page that had his siblings on it. And so and of course you can imagine being in front of all these people. And even if you realize that you've skipped it, you and I have both done enough broadcasting and presenting to know that when you screw up, often the best thing to do is just keep going. Because then if you start going back and where was that page, and you're up in front of all these people and millions of people watching on TV, and oh my gosh, where's my speech? So Jim said, he told his siblings afterward, I'm so sorry that I just messed up. And we can all understand what that's like. But that was interesting. And two, the other things that you go through in life, and Ferguson Jenkins has gone through a lot of personal tragedy, losing his wife and right around the time of his election, and even things after that. And he was just so wonderful in sharing his journey about grief and having gone to therapy and helping to mentor a younger generation. Just a really amazing guy, Ferguson Jenkins. And two, one of my favorite stories about that Ferguson told was that during at least one offseason, his offseason job was playing for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we think about nowadays and all the issues that we've got with injuries and pitchers getting burned out and having to have surgery. And I don't know, maybe they should play hoops. If they played hoops, maybe we wouldn't have these issues. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but I found it fascinating that in these hyper-focused times with protecting people from injuries, that they get hurt more often than when Ferguson Jenkins was playing hoops in the offseason.
Was he with like Meadowlark Lemon?
Meadowlark Lemon.
Curly and Neil.
There was a skit as part of the Harlem Globetrotters that winter where he would give up a home run. However, they portrayed this with a basketball. Yeah. It was an acted out skit where he would give up a home run to Meadowlark Lemon as part of but he would actually play. He'd play a quarter of the game and was a great athlete. He actually played hockey growing up in Chatham, Ontario. He told the story about meeting Willie O'Ree, who broke the color barrier in the NHL. That's Ferguson Jenkins has lived an extraordinary life. And a lot of the Hall of Famers have. But I think we too often just see the one dimension of it on the field. And it's my job in this podcast to peel back the layer and say, can you tell me more about this? I didn't know this about you. What can you share about this part of your story? And also going into the places and asking the questions that don't often get asked. In the case of Jim Thome, I've never been in the locker room after a loss in Game 7 of the World Series. He has. What was that like, Jim? You go into that locker room, you're looking around that room with all those Hall of Famers and legendary people in Miami that night. What was that like? And taking us as the listener to places that we haven't been before. I feel like that's our job as broadcasters, is to try to ask the question that leads to the insight that you would not normally get. And that's a big task because there's so much out there about these players that and you've done this and done it so well, Towny, throughout your career. I think there's a fine balance between preparing enough but not over preparing for the interview, such that you can allow yourself space to be surprised and to ask a question that you truly don't know the answer to. You see what I'm saying? Like you don't want to almost sometimes, especially with players who are so important. If you feel like, oh my gosh, what new could I reveal about Rickey Henderson that we don't already know? Yeah. But ask him something that you don't know the answer to, that or even something that say, I read this once, is this true? And then just get them talking. And I think that the short, open-ended questions for me are those that I find to be the best to ask. And I'm just grateful that the players have been so candid and wonderful in their conversations.
One of the keys is to listen, because if all of a sudden, if a guy says, yeah, I used to play for the Harlem Globetrotters, you're not like, oh, great, the next question.
So, wait a minute.
What?
Tell me more.
Yeah.
And that becomes, because for me in broadcasting and interviewing, Towny, my big takeaway is always this. And I learned this from one of my mentors, John Lowe, years ago when I was just starting out as a writer, that when you're a college journalist and you just covered a college event for your college paper and you get back home to your dorm room after the game, whatever you would tell your roommates, hey, guess what happened today that was unique? It doesn't have to be the final score. It could have been that the kid hit the half-court shot at halftime to win $1,000, whatever it was. But whatever the first thing that you're going to say to your roommates should be the lead of your story. And this podcast has the same idea. Whatever, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Rickey Henderson said this.
Yeah.
That's where you should go.
Well, this is a great advertisement for this podcast. All right, we got like 2 minutes. So big deal for us, Luis Severino. Obviously, biggest contract in our franchise's history. When you heard that, we've been telling you it's going to change.
Yes.
They just showed you.
I love it. I think that he's going to add a lot. Obviously, a first-class person who's had experience in the big market in New York, both with the Mets and the Yankees. And he allows the younger pitchers for the A's, I think, to develop more. We saw, I think, Mark Kotsay do a phenomenal job. He managed Stephen Vogt, a deserving winner of the Manager of the Year. I don't know anybody that did a better job than Mark Kotsay in 2024. I really believe that, with the way that he nurtured this new group coming in, and on the position player side, Butler and Rooker. There's some really good talent there that I'm thrilled to watch the Athletics coming up this year and beyond. And now having that anchor of the rotation, he allows the rest of the group to settle in, and I think have an even better experience going forward. So I'm very bullish on where the A's are going. And I saw Colby Thomas during the Premier 12, outstanding prospect, big time power. I think he'll make an impact on the A's this year.
A baseball player signed a contract that could be worth up to $800 million.
Unreal, right? It's changed a lot of the economics of where the game is and where it's going. But we also have seen many cases in which the team with the highest payroll does not win the World Series. So there are different ways of going about it. But what I think the Soto deal told us, Towny, is there are now no limits. And the Ohtani contract was special because Ohtani is a unicorn. Soto's great, but he didn't even win the MVP in the American League this past year. So that tells me that there will be a time in the next decade where there is a $1 billion contract for a baseball player.
Will this maybe be the tipping point of saying the other sports have salary caps?
Possible. Because I think one thing we're seeing, even setting Soto aside, the big time free agents who are out there are being courted by the same teams: Red Sox, Yankees, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Mets. I mean, that's the group. Who are we hearing on Corbin Burns? Those teams plus the Giants, basically. And so I think that's something to keep in mind, to where parity is a good thing. We have degrees of parity. We have not had a repeat champion in this sport in a quarter century, basically. So that is true. But you look at the National Hockey League and how many times that the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Nashville Predators last summertime, they were the ones who were making the big investments in players. So it doesn't have to be dominated by the large markets for it to be a healthy sport.
Not all writers have transitioned into broadcasting the way you have. You're one of the best.
Well, I've had great teachers, Towny, and great people like you that have brought me on shows and given me a lot of repetitions and opportunities to learn. But I've had great mentors and great teachers, and I've been given the chance to make a lot of mistakes and learn from it. And that's how we do things in broadcasting and in life as well. So I appreciate the friendship, as always, in the conversation.
All right, so we got the podcast everybody needs to check out. We got to watch you over on NHL Network.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you as well.
And look forward to, we can see you in Arizona.
I would love to see you in Arizona and West Sacramento. I've got some family in Folsom, so basically,
really? Are you going to come out?
I got to come out. I've got some cousins in Folsom, so I've got to get out there and see them there and see some A's baseball.
I love it. We're going to find out what's coming up next with the Cardinals.
Oh, there's a lot going on.
We'll do that next right here on A's Cast Live.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
A's DH Brent Rooker sat down at Towny on A's Cast Live to discuss the positive vibe in the clubhouse during the second half of 2024.
Yeah, it's special. I think, even after that last game in Seattle, guys are already kind of itching to get to spring training and get back with this group that we have and continue the momentum that we built the last three or so months of the year. I think we've got a bunch of guys who are bought into what we're doing, a bunch of guys who are bought into each other, bought into themselves as individually as players. There's a lot of confidence both in one another as teammates and then in ourselves as well as individual players. So I think we all like what we have going. We could all kind of sense the things starting to change and starting to turn towards the end of the year and even, kind of starting midway through the year. And we're just looking forward to getting back at it and keeping that momentum going.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
A's Cast Live continues from the winter meetings. Here's Chris Townsend.
Katie, it's great to have you back. Obviously, this is an interesting year for the Cardinals because usually we're talking to you about championships and winning, and now all of a sudden you've come to the winter meetings and you're looking to deal people. Well, not you, but the Cardinals are looking to deal people.
Yes, nice to see you, Towny. It's a very different year for the St. Louis Cardinals, and as I was thinking before I joined the show, the A's are most likely going to outspend the Cardinals in free agency this year just by making one deal. And that is just an unfathomable concept when you think about where these organizations are. But it's a sign of the times in St. Louis. Things are changing. They are taking a reset to their roster. They're going to focus on the youth, and some key players could be on the move in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so when I start thinking about Goldschmidt, I mean, we heard the rumors already with Detroit. Arenado, there's a lot of teams out there. I've heard anywhere from L.A. to New York. Sonny Gray, our old buddy Sonny Gray. So what do you think will happen? Do you think they're all going? Some of them are going? Well, how do you see this playing out?
So most of them, Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, they've told John Mozeliak, the Cardinals president of baseball operations, his last year in this position, they'd like to stay. They have full no trade clauses anyway. When Mo approached both of them saying, hey, we know we signed you as marquee free agents with the intention of competing for multiple years while you were under contract, we're taking a step back in 2025. Would you like to be a part of that? If not, we'll help you find a place to go. And both Contreras and Sonny Gray said they would prefer to stay. So they are. Gray will be the ace of a team that is most likely going to have a younger rotation next year. And Wilson Contreras is moving to first base to allow their two rookie catchers in the Cardinal system to play consistently next year.
So Goldschmidt's got to go.
Paul Goldschmidt, they told him at the end of the season they would not be bringing him back. John Mozeliak told us yesterday he intends to try to trade Nolan Arenado. You got to throw that caveat in there. But I'd be very, very surprised if Nolan is in St. Louis come spring training.
So Chaim Bloom's going to take over. Like, how does this work?
It's a great question. So the reason the Cardinals are doing a reset is because when you think about when St. Louis was really in its prime and when they were really, really good, it's because they were consistently churning out homegrown talent, and they had one of the best player development systems, if not the best, in baseball. In fact, they were so good at developing their own farm systems that the entire major league industry took note and started formulating their organizations after what the Cardinals were doing. And what happened is these teams took over and got better at the Cardinals, beat them at their own game, if you will. Mm-hmm. So now St. Louis is taking a look back at their player development system. They've realized just how far they've fallen behind the mark, and they're going to take a year to rebuild it. And Chaim Bloom, his time in player development with the Tampa Bay Rays, and of course, atop the Red Sox, was the perfect candidate for that. So he is tasked with the minor league system overhaul, if you will. The Cardinals have already made several hires, a new assistant general manager, 3 new directors in their farm system, and they're going to overhaul their coordinating system. That's what Chaim Bloom is going to do in this year before he takes over for Mo in 2026.
All right, so people need to realize, so we're in Dallas, Texas. The St. Louis Cardinals reach and their fan base gets all the way down in here to Texas because the Rangers, who are the second version of the Washington Senators, they were not here. So basically, Cardinal baseball was the entire Midwest and all the way down here to Texas. What I'm trying to say is this is a franchise with a tremendous amount of reach, a tremendous fan base. They cannot be happy.
They aren't. And I think at some point they just want transparency. And then when I talk to Cardinals fans or see their feedback, they just want some a transparent plan. And I think the Cardinals, to their credit, have been transparent about what they're going to do because these changes aren't going to be well received. Payroll is going down. They anticipate a big drop off in ticket revenue, so they have to plan accordingly for that. They want to build their next core for when Heim takes over in 2026. In order to do that, they have to know what they have, and players like Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar. These are all players that they thought were going to be huge, instrumental to their core, and these players haven't yet panned out. So the only way to know what you have in a young player is to play them every day. And the Cardinals kind of fell in this trap of needing to contend and win 90 games and make the postseason to keep their fan base happy and their own expectations, right? This is, you're the St. Louis Cardinals. You should be good. However, they were consistently having to spend in free agency, and there's no guarantee that these free agent deals work out. They were consistently blocking their young talent. Their young talent didn't have the opportunity to perform, and there was just no end to this cycle. So they had to cut it somewhere. They decided 2025, with Mo being the last year, Heim taking over the year after, was the perfect time to do it. They'll spend next season playing the young guys every day, and if it costs them a couple wins, they're going to take it. Because they think the long-term payout will be worth it.
All right, I know you got a meeting or you have somewhere you have to go. So one more. You watch these guys. If these GMs who want to acquire Paul Goldschmidt, Arenado, you saw last year, how much do they have left, do you think?
I think it depends. I think Nolan would really benefit from a ballpark that fits his swing. I still think that defense, obviously, is elite. He's one of, if not the best third baseman this game has ever seen.
Yeah.
And he has a ton of defensive value. You get him to a park where that really values pull side hitting. I think it'll be just fine there. Goldschmidt, that's a little harder for me to see. He is 37 years old. There's been a decline, a pretty heavy drop-off since the 2022 MVP season. But the defense is still there as well. And maybe, Busch Stadium is not a great place to hit. And there was the Cardinals ended up moving on from their hitting coach last year. So maybe there's a change in strategy coming up. But I do think if you're looking for a veteran guy that values winning, values good clubhouse relationships, and is all around going to contribute to a team in whatever role you give him, it's going to be Paul Goldschmidt. And I would imagine Nolan Arenado's market takes off as well now that Juan Soto has signed.
Well, it tells you so much about our game. Certain organizations that always were about stability are now not stable. And cable deals going away. It's just this game is ever changing. But thank you for stopping by. I know you're you got a lot going on. You're very busy. We appreciate it. We won't see a spring training because you'll be in Florida, but we'll see you maybe in Northern California.
Maybe, or you can come visit me in St. Louis.
Did we go to St. Louis this year?
I think so. Didn't get to had to tell my parents live in Vacaville. Sorry, no Sacramento trip for us this year.
They got to come see you.
They got to come see me.
Always appreciate the time.
You got it, Towny. Thank you.
We got more coming up next for the winter meetings here in Dallas.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's general manager David Forth joined Towny on A's Cast Live and explained what positions he is looking to upgrade this offseason.
Third base is always the spot that jumps out at us as sort of the most unsettled spot on the diamond from this past season. And that's not, not to knock any of the guys who got reps and ABs over there, but it's just a fact. It was the one place on the diamond where we shuffled a lot of guys through and aren't quite sure what the answer is going forward. So you've got Schumann and Hernandez and Harris as possibilities there. You potentially have Max Muncy as an option there if Jacob's going to play shortstop. But the reality is we need to figure it out. So as we look out there, what's available, that's a spot we're keeping in mind. Not unlike every other offseason, pitching is at the top of our mind. And we did such a good job putting the rotation together this year. And JP continues to be the constant at the top of our rotation and the guy you can count on. And Beto and Spence and JT and Estes, all these guys did such a good job stepping up, essentially doing more on the major league stage than they'd ever been asked of before. So starting pitching, continuing to augment the bullpen is always going to be, a priority for us. But it is nice to sort of feel like the spots that I haven't mentioned, maybe there's an answer there that's going to be there for a while.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
It's mid to late June, I think, is kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June. That up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise and to my approach that series in Anaheim. And for the rest of the year, I was able to remain much more consistent in the fact that, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those between those streaks of power, between those, little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walks. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on, hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the pennant race action and the upcoming NFL and college football seasons. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
For 175 years, Comerica has thrived through every rise and fall. We've lived through triumphs and turmoil, witnessed every advance, and survived every setback. Through surety and uncertainty, we've stood the test of time by standing by our beliefs, our values, and our customers. Comerica Bank, 175 years strong. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Well, I got to tell you, Sarris, you've been around this a long time, not only the winter meetings, but around A's Cast.
That's right.
And we have weathered a lot of stuff. The general manager of the A's, David Force, was just here off camera, and we were laughing, having a good time. David Force will join us tomorrow. But, man, the signing of Severino, Mark Kotsay is just over there right now. Just the whole world is different around the A's right now.
Yeah, it's the biggest signing in A's history, I believe.
Yes.
Biggest free agent signing in A's history. And it actually –
money-wise, yeah.
Yeah. But it also it's bigger than – there's 2 or 3 other teams that it's bigger than their biggest signing ever. So – like bigger than the Rays' biggest signing ever, and so on and so forth. So kind of a fun moment for the franchise to land a big fish like that. And I'm pretty excited about Severino, as a pitcher, because he kind of came up as a high stuff 4-seam and slider guy.
Yeah.
And he's, a different pitcher now. He's got the 4-seam and the sinker now. And if maybe the sinker is a little bit better than the 4-seam these days, the 4-seam allows him to play off the changeup. He's also changed his slider to a sweeper. So he's basically a sinker sweeper guy, kind of a horizontal guy to righties, and more of a 4-seam changeup guy to lefties. He'll mix in all 4 pitches. So he's become a pitcher after sort of starting in the league as a thrower,
Yeah, he talked about, like, with the cutter, sweeper, it finally gives him something to throw inside the lefties that he didn't have before. Because as you said, just the fastball slider guy in New York, he was just trying to strike everybody out. He now wants to pitch to contact. He wants to go deeper into games. He's a pitcher, not a thrower.
Yeah, and I think the from my research, the wider your arsenal is, I think the better you age as a pitcher, because you've got more options. The better you keep the hitter on their heels, because they don't know what's coming, basically. And he can kind of throw each of these pitches in each count. He has pretty good command. So, it was a good signing. It might have been there might have been a premium, on it. They may have had to pay a little bit extra. But what we see also is, the Giants across town paid a lot extra for Willy Adames to get him in San Francisco. So sometimes you just have to be the winning bidder, you know what I mean? Like, it's
no doubt
that's what it takes.
And thinking about pitching, and you're a perfect guy to talk about this with, is people don't want to get into the 7-8 year commitments like the Garrett Cole type contract. We're seeing guys, we know that all these pitchers, I talked to Scott Emerson about this earlier today, that everybody, all these guys are drafted as starters, but they get the minor leagues. They may stay as starters. They may get to the big leagues as a reliever. You may take a reliever and turn them back into a starter. We're not expecting guys to go 200 innings. But it's interesting how this, whether you can be a starter, you're a reliever, I can have you start again. Can you give me over 100 innings? So we're seeing a lot of 2-year, 1-year, 2-year, maybe 3-year contracts, and guys like a Clay Holmes. We're going to try him as a starter. If he doesn't work as a starter with the Mets, we'll put him at the bullpen. But that flexibility, teams really like that, and there's not a lot of risk.
Yeah. To some extent, you're just trying to buy innings for next year. You're just trying to get to certain innings thresholds. You're just like, it's hard enough with all the injuries to get enough innings. So, when you get a Jordan Hicks, or you get a Ronaldo Lopez, or you get a Clay Holmes, what you're doing is we're getting 70 innings no matter what, and if we get those 70 innings in the bullpen, there's going to be a good reliever. We know this, he's been a really good reliever, but we think we can push that number to 120, maybe 130, get basically a fourth or fifth starter out of this guy for reliever money, and that's the sort of financial play that's happening. But I think what happening is you're just trying to find those innings. You're trying to build those innings. What we also think, Earl Weaver used to do this thing where, like, the young guys that came up in the bullpen. The starters came up in the bullpen. They had to kind of earn their way into the rotation. I think that's kind of disseminated through baseball. But sometimes people get stuck in the bullpen, and maybe rightly or wrongly. Like, I think Griffin Jacks is somebody that has the arsenal to be a starter. In the era of pitch design, you could be in the bullpen adding pitches, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, you have 4 or 5 pitches, and it looks like you have command. And if you can lose, 2 ticks off that fastball and still be good, like, you could be a starter. So I think teams are looking at that as a way to identify starters, especially in the era of everyone's injured.
Luis Severino talked a lot about when we had him on his time with Driveline. I was with one of the Driveline guys checking into the hotel. Severino was just down there, and of course, what he did the year before he went to the Mets. You were with the Driveline guys last night. Talk about how these think tanks, throw tanks, hit tanks, how they are starting to evolve, because they always have to keep getting better.
Yeah. There's a bit of an arms race. There's another outlet called Tread that is working guys out too, and they're kind of fighting for arms from each other. Opening up gyms. They're opening up gyms. Driveline opened up a gym in Tampa and in Arizona. Of course, you got to be in Arizona. So they're proliferating and trying to be where the players are. Because of the weirdest, I think one of the weirdest things in baseball is that right now the players are on their own. I think it's kind of weird. The teams will be like, hey, here's stuff to work on.
Correct.
And they're not really, calling them. They're not really staying in touch. They're sort of like, here's your off-season plan, and then I'll see you in March.
It's crazy, right?
It's kind of crazy.
The way this business is, like, we only pay you during the season.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, we pay you so much during the season. You think that, like, you're such a valued commodity to my business.
Yeah.
I want you where I am.
Yeah.
And now we have all these players who are going to these random coaches.
Yeah.
Okay, think about this. I'm going to pay you $20 million, but I only control you for 6 months. The other 6 months, you're with some random guy that I don't know who's telling you what to do. It seems like if you explain this system to people, you're like, this is nuts.
Yeah, I think what we are heading towards a little bit is, these tracking systems where you kind of log in and you kind of give your data in the off season, and you kind of upload your data. And so you're staying in touch through data and technology.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is that can be seamless with another coach where, like, at least the team is like knowing what you're doing, because you're logging in and
because right now a lot of these teams have no idea what their players are doing.
Yeah. Well, if I was a team, that's how I'd run it, is like, hey, we've got this thing. You got to log in. You got to tell us what you're doing so that we can see. And if we think that you're ramping up too early or, doing something, like, we can get in touch with you, because we're watching all the systems,
Remember when Barry Zito signed with the Giants, leaves the A's, signs with the Giants, shows up to the Giants after $124 million or whatever. The guy was like, oh yeah, I want to pitch differently. Yeah. I've been working on some things. I mean, that's a great example, right? Like, if you're the Giants, like, well, no, we signed you to be the guy with the A's, not this new guy.
Cody Bellinger won the MVP, came back the next year with a new swing. Dodgers were probably like, what?
Where did you get this new swing? It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Can you justify one guy making $800 million?
I mean, I think he's Ted Williams, and I ran the numbers, not in a very sophisticated way, but I took his projections and I aged it, the way that people normally age these contracts and the production, and it turned out it's in the market. It's a normal. Basically, in the parlance of the nerds, they paid about $11.5 million per win. That's the market right now. The market is up. The market is up to the Adames was $13.5 million per win. Snell was like $14 million per win.
Yeah, but if we build teams, you can't build teams like that.
It is weird because you look at the Mets and you're like, well, that was a really good addition. Your starting rotation is kind of meh.
Yeah, you're rolling out Frankie Montas.
Yeah, we love Frankie, but
he hasn't been good since he left the A's.
Yeah.
It's like Juan Soto. So when we do the Ted Williams comparison, let's be fair to the great Ted Williams. He's never going to slug like Ted. He may walk like Ted. He's never going to slug like Ted.
If you look at home run percentage, walk percentage, strikeout percentage, strikeout percentage is actually I think the big way that Ted Williams was different in terms of.
I will guarantee you, I will put any amount of money on it. His numbers never sniffed Ted Williams, and Ted Williams missed almost 4 years of his prime.
He's like an identical match to Ted Williams.
Ted Williams would hit over 700 home runs if he didn't have to go to the war. And have you ever seen his doubles? Have you ever seen his doubles?
You know that Soto's 26. Right?
I guarantee. Yeah, but this is Soto missing these years if you're Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's true.
This is Soto going to fight in war and fly planes and dodge bullets.
Okay.
Right? We're giving Soto his prime. We took Ted's prime away, and Ted still had those numbers.
Well, I'm just saying, like up to this age, they're comparable.
Well, Ted didn't play these years. He was fighting he missed some at 24 when he was 24, 25.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I always I have a little hard time with that when I go, it's Ted Williams. You're like, whoa. That's kind of a hard. I get it, though. He walks a lot, and he's got some power. I just don't know how he's going to age.
The thing is that the thing that ages the worst among hitters, the thing that if you look at all aging curves, there's this really weird line. You look at all the lines, they look, oh, okay, that's normal aging. There's one line that goes at 30. You cannot make contact on pitches outside the zone after 30. It's just the one thing that ages the worst. And so that's why nobody wants to sign Teoscar Hernandez to like a long deal. That's why nobody really wants to trade for Luis Robert. There's this is a hidden thing. That's why Pablo Sandoval didn't age that well. It's why Josh Hamilton didn't age that well. It's like,
that's interesting.
It's the one thing. I think it has something to do with athleticism. Like when you're young, you can cover a larger area with your bat. You can kind of, you can do more on pitches outside the zone. And then as you get older, what you can do damage on gets smaller. And Soto has the smallest swing area, in baseball. You've watched him. He's locked in. He wants it right there, and everything else he's going to spit on. And that's going to age really well.
So you're saying as a guy hits 30, we know Boggs and Gwynn, they could hit out, but majority of guys,
the strikeout, you'll see the strikeout rate really after 30 if they swing at a lot of stuff. Javi Baez.
Oh my God, yeah. Train wreck.
Yeah.
When you the rest of the meetings here, you got to think all these teams that were offering all this money to Soto now go back into the market with all of these players. How do you see it playing out?
I think that, the Yankees have some pressure to kind of recreate Soto in the aggregate, and they have to go out and get some players.
It's like Moneyball.
Yeah, exactly. but
can we afford Giambi? No, but we can recreate it. It's like the movie.
But I thought they might have to be in on Adames, to get some of that hitting back. So I don't know. Maybe they take on some mediocre money and getting Bellinger. That's not the best contract, but it's not a long one, and he's a decent player. So you get Bellinger, and maybe you pivot and get some pitching and get Max Fried. But there's, that's a $50 million a year hole in your pocket that you'd be jangling around some change there. So they could.
Would they do it first?
Huh?
What do they do at first? Yankees.
Yeah,
that's first and third.
Yeah, maybe they take Alonso. Alonso's swing actually fits Yankee Stadium really well because he's kind of this right center, Oppo guy, and that's the short porch in Yankee Stadium. So I think that might make more sense than the other one is like Christian Walker. I mean, Walker's good, but and it'll be a shorter deal. So if they just want to stay short, they could do Walker and Bellinger and try to do that and try to their lineup also wasn't that long. So instead of like having the two best players in baseball, two of the three best players in baseball, what they can do is lengthen the lineup a little bit and have better players down. We saw a little bit of that in the postseason where the bottom of the lineup wasn't really there.
When you're here at the meetings, and obviously everybody here reads you, everybody knows your work. What's the main thing for you here at the meetings? What are you really trying to get done?
Well, the hardest thing for me actually, where I am right now, is to find a piece to write, because we've got a full roster of great writers at The Athletic. And, when that Juan Soto deal goes down, we've got takes from left and right. And
Ken Rosenthal. Yeah.
We got Hall of Famers. I'm sitting next to Jason Stark in the media room. It's like, I'm gonna let you handle he's writing about Soto and Williams right now. So, I'm gonna.
You represent the baseball nerd side of it,
right?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing actually is sort of hitting the floor and trying to get a sense of what's going on from that standpoint. And I think I found something to write about. I mean, to give a quick synopsis, right now data is everywhere. Every team has data and tech, and so that is maybe no longer a real competitive advantage. It's almost
how could
the price,
it be if everybody has
it's the price of admission at this point. So to some degree, as much as I was wary of Buster Posey's, pro RBI screed and like some of the stuff he said when he took over in San Francisco, there might be something to there might be a shift in baseball to people and processes and using that data better, like finding ways to be a better organization rather than finding the best data, best tech, best R&D. So I'm trying to formulate a coherent idea out of that, but there's something there.
Well, will a lot of people be watching the Giants? Because obviously you got Will Clark on with Eric Burns going, they kicked the data guys out. Get your ass out, right? There's all that. It's like, okay, you're not getting rid of your data people. That's stupid.
They just took the A's data guy, Pike Goldschmidt.
Yeah. So is there going to be maybe a lot of people watching San Francisco to see how it works? Kind of bring a little old school back with the data.
Yeah, I do think there's something to that. And, we had Andy McKay on our podcast on Rates and Barrels, and he was talking about the hardest thing to do is now that the information, everybody can just get it on their phone. Everybody can have the information. What they're looking for when they hire is empathy, the ability to be empathetic with people around you. Because he thought that was the way that, a team could create.
Are we talking about baseball?
Yes.
Empathy and baseball.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we?
He's talking about like coaches and like, being able to put yourself in the players, in the player's seat. And like,
do you realize what we're talking about here?
Yeah. Well,
it just shows you how evolving we are as people and in this business that we're talking about empathy.
Empathy is a huge thing. So, that's sort of a focus now. It's like, okay, well, you need to know these skills. We need these. That's the price of admission. What's going to separate you when you're here? There's a lot of people here trying to get jobs. What's going to separate you from the pack is these soft skills, really.
We learn as we go, and it was important to make change as data is in every walk of life, right?
Yeah.
But we started to forget that we're dealing with humans and we needed the humans to perform at the highest level. And if you're just treating them like they're data, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So maybe they figured out they got to treat the humans the right way.
There's a cynical aspect to it too, which is you need to get the most out of these young players. That's a huge thing. As player development is worth a lot. And in order to get the most out of these young players, you have to be nice. You have to be empathetic. You have to figure out how to make them feel good. Because the cynical aspect is you want them to be good for your team.
Yeah, you want them to play well.
Yeah,
treat them as people.
Yeah, exactly.
Communicate. Well, in the end, we always talk we're in a people business.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not in Amazon, and I'm just you buy, we deliver it to you. Yeah, the date only matters.
Yeah.
But we're not Amazon. We're dealing with human beings that we need them to perform at the highest level.
Yeah, yeah.
Any special beers you're checking out here in Texas?
Community is pretty good. Petriello is pretty good. I've been enjoying it a little too much. I think today. Today I need to take
Are you playing hurt today?
I'm playing hurt.
I had Lone Star last night. If you want to check out a cheap Texas beer, I had Lone Star.
That's a nice little lager there.
Is it safe to say that a nap is in your future?
I think I will nap today.
Wait, hold on. My data says you probably need about 2-3 hours. And then you'll be ready to go tonight.
I'm too old, man. I'm too old.
Think about it. It's noon. Like you roll out of here about 2:00, sleep till about 5, take a shower.
Be ready.
You'll be ready to go again tonight. He's the best, the great Eno Sarris. We'll see you win next. Spring training?
Yeah, sure.
You come to Arizona?
Of course.
And you're going to be dealing with the days, or who knows who will sign.
Yeah.
It's a different deal.
And I'll come out to Sacramento. I'll make
Of course you will. You come up.
Yeah.
We're going to have you on all the time. The great Eno Sarris right here on A's Scout. What do we got left? Are we breaking?
Mike Petriello is waiting in the wings.
Well,
there
he is. There he is. I can't wait to talk Juan Soto with him next, right here on A's Cast Live.
Brent Rooker, the 2024 Silver Slugger winner, joined Towny on A's Cast Live to reflect on earning a spot on the A's roster in 2023.
It was a special moment. It was a stressful day, and it was a relieving feeling when I got that news, obviously, because I kind of, I had been DFA'd and then claimed in November. And I was talking to Mark early that offseason, as soon as I got claimed, talking to David, talking to Towny, some of the guys in the front office. The message was like, hey, we're not, nothing is guaranteed, obviously, but if you come in and you perform well in spring training, we think there's an opportunity for you to make this team there into the back. And so that was my mindset coming to that camp: just go in, prove myself, do what I do offensively, and kind of let everything take care of itself. And for that to be rewarded with that last roster spot and be given the opportunity to kind of earn more bats as we got into the season was really cool.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Well, it is great to finally have you on in person. I know you only have so much time, so let's get into it. Nobody better when you're talking about reading the data, the numbers, the game, watching you also on MLB Network. When I think about Juan Soto, and you've championed Soto for a long, long time, the contract comes down, you see what the number is. Does it make you feel like, I told you so?
You know, it's funny. You hear a contract that large, and you think the reaction would be like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe it went that high. But then you start thinking about the fact that for weeks we were talking about, this is probably going to be 600, 700 million. From everything that's been reported, the Mets didn't actually blow everybody else away, right? The Yankees were in the ballpark. The Red Sox were in the ballpark. The Blue Jays were in the ballpark. And I think that tells you that pretty much everybody valued him this highly, even though the numbers, I admit, do seem wild. He is a unicorn free agent. He's different from Ohtani last year in a lot of important ways, and that's why he got paid so much more.
So we were flying here Sunday night. When did you get here?
I got here Sunday night, and I can tell you this. I found out on the tarmac at DFW, waiting for my gate to clear with 12% battery, seeing the reports and going, I have to get off this plane right now.
Because I'm thinking about you back home. I wonder what's it like in New York. The little brother got over on the big brother finally. What is that dynamic like?
I think it's going to be enormous. So I can tell you this: my dad and my uncle are huge Mets fans. They have been their entire lives, going back to the '60s. And as soon as I saw that, I texted both of them saying, "Hey, congratulations!" And I just got emojis back. Because you're right. They have been kind of the little brother for a very long time. They're also New York Giants football fans, so they know from pain. And this is a different kind of Mets, especially you consider what happened a couple years ago. You had the Wilpons, you had Madoff and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They've never really been in that ballpark. And Cohen promised this when he bought the team, and he's delivered on that promise. Will it work? Will they win? Who knows? You can't guarantee anything, but he's followed through on what he promised the fans he would do.
For Mets fans, I mean, we were joking with Jim Duquette, who obviously is on SNY, also on Sirius XM. But I'm like, you won the winter meetings. You don't get a ring for it, but it's like you want, like, for Mets fans, just to be proud, right? To be proud right now, it's got to be huge. Are you Yankee or you Mets growing up?
So neither. I'm from New Jersey, but I did grow up a Dodgers fan, actually.
Oh, okay. That's a whole different ballgame.
Well, in part because I saw them beat your A's in the 1988 World Series, and I was on the
fans
Dodgers
don't
and
wanna hear
T-ball.
that.
Yeah, sorry, that was it though. I was on the Dodgers and T-ball, and that's kind of what it was.
Okay. So but you understand that the dynamic is, it's like nowhere else in sport. Like if the Giants and the A's fought over a free agent, we've never really seen. I can't remember my career. I don't, as a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, but to have the Mets and they used to not fight each other for players, but to see the Mets and the Yankees go toe-to-toe for a player, it's very unusual.
That doesn't happen that often, and when it does, the Mets don't win, right? So you've got a couple of things at play here. Mets fans are thrilled they got the player, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget about the fact he's an amazing baseball player, like a generational hitter. He's going to make their team better. You can kind of full stop there, right? But they didn't just beat out the Blue Jays, and they didn't just beat out the Red Sox. They took him from the Yankees, who wanted him. And that is an enormous deal in New York. And like you said, you signed this deal for 15 years. There's that opt-out that's probably not going to happen. He is going to be there for a very long time. And they didn't just buy a great player. They bought a Cooperstown plaque. He is going to go into the Hall of Fame with a Mets logo on his hat. And that's a big deal.
All right. How do you think he ages? Your data-wise, how do you think he ages?
Well, I think he's going to be a very effective hitter for a long time. I think you have to separate Soto the hitter and Soto, let's say, the all-around player. He's not a great fielder. He's probably going to be a DH in a couple years. But when you think about some of the guys who haven't aged that well, like the Pujolses, the Miguel Cabreras, first of all, they were older. They were in their early 30s when they signed those deals. Juan Soto is younger than a player you know well, J.J. Bleday. Would you believe that? He's younger than Tyler Fitzgerald. That's how young he is. He has the most walks in history through his age. He has 201 home runs through age 25, which only like 7 other guys have ever done. So you look at the skill set, it's not just based on power. It's not just based on patience. He's got these multiple things that he's great at. And a bunch of studies have been done over the years saying, one thing that ages really great is a hitter's batting eye, right? Mm-hmm. The bat speed might slow, the power might wane, but the batting eye, that's something that ages really great. And if he's good for the next 10 years, that's still only 35. Like, it's the youth here that plays. So it's going to be a DH eventually, sure. The bat is going to be great for at least the next decade.
Yeah, and I hate to be Debbie Downer, but as we had just our buddy Johnny Gomes was here yesterday, we never know how the eyesight works after 30. And also, when we mention how young he is and how many games he's played, we start to see injuries. You got a lot of tread on the tires. We haven't seen. So hopefully he stays healthy and hopefully the eyesight's there. That could be the only thing where you go, that's when the contract starts to look bad.
I think that's true. I mean, that's a risk with anybody.
Yeah.
I think the risk here is lower than most, in part because he hasn't had a long injury history. He's not someone who's coming in with knee surgeries and all this kind of stuff. So that's a point in his favor. He's not a player who relies upon speed. He's not that fast in the first place. So it's not like, you sign Ricky Henderson or whatever, and the speed goes, that's a problem. And he is a guy who, as I said, the eyesight, he's 26. If we're not worried about this for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years, that's fine. I would say there's risk in the contract because of the money, obviously, but just in terms of the ball player, like the type of player he is and the age he is, it's one of the most riskless contracts I think I've ever seen. And I know that sounds crazy with the money, but you think about guys signing at 32, 33.
Yeah.
That's a long time from now.
I also think the money's not a risk because it's an owner who is a fan and he's worth over $20 billion. So the only risk is to him. And if he doesn't care, why should I care?
It's, the fans are like, it's not their money, right? If the owner wants to do this, I think the issue is that maybe other fan bases should be jealous. So, man, I wish we had an owner who would do this.
Then this is, and our buddy Bob Melvin was just here earlier. This when Bob Melvin was with the Padres, Bob told us like, hey, Peter Seidler is using his own corporations to back these contracts. That's not a good sign. Well, when your guy's worth $20 billion, he can do whatever the hell he wants. So that I'm not worried about the money. Severino to the A's. How'd you feel about that?
Shock. I was stunned. I was walking around the office in the lunchroom and I saw the text on my phone. Like, really? The A's? Not what I expected.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And I'm like somewhat lukewarm on him as a pitcher, which I'll explain in a second. But obviously the A's needed pitching. And even though the contract felt a little high at first, I think part of that was you probably were paying a little bit of a surcharge because of the Sacramento situation.
No doubt.
But then also most of the contracts that we've seen so far, setting Soto aside, have been a little bit higher than expected. So I don't actually think it's out of line what he got for 3 years. Obviously, they needed him. As far as the type of pitcher he is, he had a really interesting last 2 years, right? 2 years ago, terrible with the Yankees. Last year with the Mets, pretty good. And he changed his pitches, and he added a sweeper, and he added a sinker. These are all great things. But it was fascinating to me. There was like no difference in strikeouts and like no difference in walks. Those are the first two things you look at. Those didn't change from when he was terrible and when he was good. The one thing that changed is he stopped getting lit up. He stopped giving up the most loud, damaging contact. And I think that's where these extra pitches came in. It didn't make his four-seamer better, right? But the sinker helps you keep it off that four-seamer because even though he throws hard, it's not really a good four-seam fastball. It's kind of flat. It doesn't have much movement to it. The shape is not what you want. And he needs to be able to do that, pitch these other pitch types to keep the guys off the bat. And I think I'm very interested to see how, with big league players, the Sacramento ballpark plays, because that's a bit of an unknown. But I think they desperately needed someone who could give them average to above average major league innings. And they probably still need someone else who can do that. But this is a really good start.
All right. We only have you for a few more minutes. Okay, so you had all these teams willing to offer all this money to Soto. They lose out. Now what? Who are you excited about? Who's left over? Or maybe even a trade? What's exciting you right now?
Yeah, it's very different depending on what team you're talking about, right? The Red Sox needs are different from the Yankees needs. I think I'm excited about two things. One is if the Yankees have a freak out, right? If they are so panicked that they lost not only Soto,
PR.
but to the Mets, they can't say, hey, we were willing to offer $700 million and then not spend any of that on ball players. You can't do that. So what does that mean? Does that mean they have a spending spree where they go out and sign like 4 guys to $150 million contracts? They need a first baseman. Can you really sign Pete Alonso, even though he'd be an upgrade, and say, well, they took our best player. We're going to take your best player, even though this guy's considerably not as valuable as Juan Soto is. So it's the Yankees' number one is what are they going to do? And the second thing I'm interested in is whether the White Sox actually trade Garrett Crochet, because he's a really talented pitcher. He has no place on a team like the White Sox. We're going to lose another 115 games next year. And it doesn't cost that much, which is big for a lot of teams. And if you can get there and you've got the prospects for it, I can't think of a single team in baseball other than maybe the Mariners who wouldn't be interested in this, because cost-controlled young pitching, guy who could win the Cy Young right now, is the most valuable possible thing. And like I would see the Orioles in on this because they've got a ton of young, position player talent. The Red Sox, the Yankees, everybody's going to be in on this. And this might define this White Sox rebuild because it hasn't gone great so far.
No.
And if you don't do this right, then you're putting yourself in a deeper hole for many more years on the South Side.
All right, so as Eno Sarris just told us, everybody's got data now. Like ever since Moneyball with the A's, everybody's evolved. Everybody has data. Well, if all 30 teams have it and all 30 teams are using it, some are going to use it better than there's always a new frontier. You're studying this all the time. What do you think the new frontier, what will you think the new edge, the certain teams want to go out and get an edge? What will that be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think over the last couple of years, that edge has been in pitch types and pitch shapes, right? Figuring out how you make your curveball get more curve, or you're a great candidate to throw, a slider, right? That's sort of happened already. Teams have maxed out on that. I think the next frontier is now you've got all this biomechanical data where you can say, here's where the elbow is in relation to the wrist, in relation to the knees and whatever. And you can use that to not only sort of define what type of pitches maybe you should throw, but like where the stress points are on your body, right? It's injury prevention is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
That might not be a nut anyone can ever crack. It might not be possible, but the teams that can figure it out, this is how you're going to do it, because you're going to be able to say, well, here's how much stress is at this point of the body, at this point in your pitch. Maybe we can help you try to take a little bit of stress off of that by changing your motion. And no one's done it yet, but that's what they're all trying to do.
In all sports.
In all sports.
How do we keep the best way to put it, how do we keep our investments healthy? All right, MLB.com. What else? What else would you like to promote before you get out of here?
Yeah, writing a lot for MLB.com, and Baseball Savant is our StatCast clearinghouse. All of our cool StatCast metrics, visuals, data, you can get to pretty much all of it for free publicly on BaseballSavant.com. Please go play with it and let us know if you like it.
And then after Christmas and the New Year's, as we start doing all the preview shows, that's when you start showing up on MLB Network all the time.
MLB Network, ESPN. If we do the StatCast shows, I am everywhere.
Oh, the StatCast shows are great.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we have? Do we see more of that in the future?
So I kind of thought that they were dead for a couple of years. They came back last year.
Yeah.
We did it on ESPN with Kevin Brown, who is the voice of the Orioles, and Trevor May, who obviously pitched for the A's, and they were great. Trevor was fantastic. I really liked working with him. I don't have anything set in stone for the upcoming year, but I think it went pretty well, and I am hopeful we will get the gang back together.
Have a good Christmas. Have good holidays. Happy New Year. And then we'll talk to you hopefully sometime around spring training.
I look forward to it, Chris.
Great to finally have you in person.
Absolutely.
All right, we got more coming up next right here from the winter meetings in Dallas.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's general manager David Forst joined Towny on A's Cast Live and explained what positions he is looking to upgrade this offseason.
Third base is always the spot that jumps out at us as sort of the most unsettled spot on the diamond from this past season, and that's not to knock any of the guys who got reps and ABs over there, but it's just a fact. It was the one place on the diamond where we shuffled a lot of guys through and aren't quite sure what the answer is going forward. So you've got Schumann and Hernandez and Harris as possibilities there. You potentially have Max Muncy as an option there if Jacob's going to play shortstop. But the reality is we need to figure it out. So as we look out there, what's available, that's a spot we're keeping in mind. Not unlike every other offseason, pitching is at the top of our mind. And we did such a good job putting the rotation together this year. And JP continues to be the constant at the top of our rotation and the guy you can count on. And Beto and Spence and JT and Estes, all these guys did such a good job stepping up, essentially doing more on the major league stage than they'd ever been asked of before. So starting pitching, continuing to augment the bullpen is always going to be, a priority for us. But it is nice to sort of feel like the spots that I haven't mentioned, maybe there's an answer there that's going to be there for a while.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Brent Rooker, fresh off winning the 2024 Silver Slugger, spoke with Towny on A's Cast Live about the moment he realized his 2024 season was taking off.
Mid to late June, I think, is kind of when I kind of made the switch from who I was in 23 to who I was for the rest of the year. I think up until it was a series in Anaheim towards the back half of June. That up until that point, I had kind of been who I was in 23 still. The strikeouts were high. The average was kind of right where it had been the previous year. I had the power spurts, which is what were kind of keeping me productive. And then I made a few adjustments with swing-wise and preparation-wise and to my approach to that series in Anaheim for the rest of the year. I was able to remain much more consistent. And the fact that, like, I've always been very streaky power-wise, which is how a lot of guys work in the big leagues, right? The slugging kind of comes in bunches. You hit one homer, you tend to hit four. It's kind of that thing. So the difference between this year and last year was during those between those streaks of power, between those, little home run bursts, I was able to maintain. I was able to take my singles. I was able to take my walks. I was able to continue to get on base and remain productive in other ways to where I wasn't just solely relying on, hitting homers to produce runs.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
Streaming from the winter meetings, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Wow. How do we... Where's Dan Feinstein? Dan. Wait. The whole A's contingent walking by right now.
David Forrest very excited for my list of Rule 5 guys I'm going to give him.
I don't think he is as excited as you think he is.
Well, it's just going to reignite the rivalry between me and the general manager of our baseball club.
Do you really need to be fighting the general manager of our team on who's smarter in baseball? Do we really? Is that a good move?
Harvard versus Harvard on the Mon. I mean, let's see. We'll see. By the way, I got to talk to.
I'm trying to build something special here, and you're fighting with our general manager.
Well, you're barking up the wrong tree here.
Well, I would say Rule 5 draft him 1, you 0 from last year.
That's true. So I have a different.
Mitch Spence, you did not have Mitch Spence. He did.
That's true. He did. I got to go talk to Duke. Emo told me we need to have his cousin on to talk about something. So I need to
Dan?
talk to. We talk to. I got to talk to Duke.
What's Dan Duquette doing these days? Former general manager of the. Actually, was in this building that Dan Duquette, and we talked about with Jim yesterday, signed Manny Ramirez to that big Red Sox contract away from the then Cleveland Indians. This hotel in the winter meetings has a lot of history. Obviously, the Alex Rodriguez. The guy, I saw a tweet about it. What's his name? Mike Hampton left the Astros for the Rockies. A lot of big signings. I mean, you're talking about Manny Ramirez deal and the A-Rod deal. Those were both record-breaking deals in our sport. And now the Juan Soto deal was not done here, but it just coincides with the meeting. So coming to Dallas, a lot of stuff. You know what I want to go see? And I want to go see the grassy knoll. We're not far from the grassy knoll.
I don't know if I'll have time. You might be able to do it, but
I want to go see it.
It'd be cool to see. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was at the Cowboy game last night.
We were not.
By the way, I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Not a big Staubach guy?
I have all respect for Captain America, Roger Staubach. By the way, they're building a new thing in Arlington, so right where the Rangers are, Globe Life, and the Death Star, Jerry's World. They're building a memorial to all the men and women who have gotten like Purple Hearts and the Medal of Honor, and it's going to be and Roger Staubach is a part of that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big deal. The great Billy Owens. How are you, my friend? When Billy O's tomorrow?
Think so. We'll figure it out. He said we'll.
All right. Well, right now we're live. Right now, you want to sit down? Well, we wait till tomorrow. I mean, I just booked a guest for us right now. We're supposed to go to break, but we're not going to go because the assistant general manager of the Athletics and star of Bellarmine High School. Basically, all the guys I got to live and play golf with, there's buddies with him, whether it's a great Pat Crema or Mark Podesta, a bunch of Bellarmine guys. Of course, you were a star at the University of Arizona. And now, long-time assistant general manager, long-time employee. You've been with the A's 30-something years?
Not 27.
27?
First year was 19. First draft was 1999.
Do you ever does that ever amaze you how long you've been with this team?
Not really. I mean, because it's just a natural progression. For one, Billy Bean and David Forrest, John Fisher, they've had loyalty with their employees throughout. So I've been fortunate. I've dabbled. Kind of, you saw my interview this year with the Giants for their general manager position, and interviewed before with the New York Mets as well. So I've almost went a couple different places, but been fortunate to be here and excited about our next journey here to Sacramento and eventually Las Vegas, and I've been blessed.
I think Luis Severino was a big symbol for this organization. You were a part of it. What did it mean to have Luis Severino say, yep, I'm all in?
It's just so exciting. I mean, if you go really by the last decade plus here, we made the playoffs in 12, 13, and 14. Then the onset of Matt Chapman and Matt Olson, 18, 19, and 20, you saw that young core kind of rise. And so right now, going into 2025, we got a taste of that core 2024. Lawrence Butler, Shea Langoliers, Brent Rooker. Our young core offensively is pretty impressive. Mason Miller on the back end, locking down, punching tickets with saves. And so now you add a piece like Luis Severino to that with some high caliber, exciting starting pitching. And it's going to be fun in the Central Valley.
No doubt about it. Cannot wait. And remember, season tickets to the public are open right now. Athletics.com/season tickets. I've been screwing that one up because we have so many of these. Athletics.com/season tickets. You always have great comps for people. Jacob Wilson, what's your comp for him?
I mean, we talked about it this summer. I mean, I played against Derek Jeter all the way back to the South Atlantic League in 1993. Lithe body, 6'3", great background. Jacob's father, Jack Wilson, 12-year Major League shortstop. I mean, Jacob Wilson hit 400 last year in the minor leagues, man. Between AA and AAA, had the highest average in the minor leagues in the last decade. First full season, got 100 at-bats in the big leagues, hit 280, played solid defense. And we got to remember, I mean, it was his first full season. So, obviously, small injury, kind of tired at the end. But there's no question that Jacob Wilson's a star. And honestly, the last 2 years, we picked in the top 10, and it actually worked out perfectly. We fell to 4 last year and got Nick Kurtz, a strapping young fellow out of University of Wake Forest, and he hit the ground running. I mean, he was awesome recently. Arizona Fall League, had 1,000 OPS between low A and double A. He's a monster. And honestly, I think you probably see Nick Kurtz in 2025 at some point in the Central Valley in Sacramento. So, I mean, it's exciting. You go Nick Kurtz, Jacob Wilson, Law Dog out there in the outfield.
Yeah.
Geloff's going to bounce back, do his thing this year, pop you 25 homers. Shea Langoliers is an underrated. Shea Langoliers is a star. I mean, he popped 29 homers last year, led the league in throwing guys out. He's athletic, phenomenal catcher. I mean, this year, he's got a chance to hit 30 bombs. Like he hit 29 last year. So he's got a very good chance to play in the All-Star game. So he's kind of a hidden gem for us. It's going to be exciting.
Let's get back to Jacob Wilson. You like the comp as Derek Jeter.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
I'm on record. I mean, I played against Derek Jeter. I've known Derek Jeter since he was 18 years old. I mean, just the bat-to-ball ability was exceptional, always ready for the big moment. 6'3", similar frame, just a gifted hand-eye coordination, all fields, use the opposite field well. And Jacob Wilson has those ingredients. I mean, it's hard to put that kind of illustrious comp on somebody and maybe doesn't go to Broadway, but Jacob Wilson's going to be a 300 hitter in the major leagues.
So have you seen many guys? I mean, obviously, probably really not coming out of high school, but coming out of college like he did, and then immediately he's hitting 400 at every level. It's not like, well, he did it in A. What is he doing? It didn't matter. A, double A. It's everywhere he hit 4. Have you ever seen that?
No, that's the point. No. I mean, so the guy hit 400 between double A and triple A, his first full season of professional baseball. And to back it up, he led NCAA. He had the lowest strikeout percentage his sophomore and junior year in college with a robust 400 average, enough pop just to keep you honest, solid defense. He's a good athlete. He's got the big league pedigree. I mean, honestly, and as much as as effusive I am in the praise of Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz is a bad man.
He's a big man.
Oh, he's a big man. He's a bad man.
He had multiple triples in the Arizona Fall League for a guy his size.
Yeah, I was there for both of them, actually. I mean, he was picking up steam round and second, and that swing is fluid. It's smooth. It's all field. His eye's impeccable. I mean, he'll rival the best eye on the team on the major league side pretty much when he gets to the big leagues. I mean, the eye is that special. The power is real. The defense is very good at first base. He's just, I mean, what you're hoping for when you're picking top 10, at this point 4 in the country. And honestly, if we were picking one, Nick Kurtz is our guy from day one. He went pole position till the draft day. Nick Kurtz will be a monster.
Yeah, wasn't it just one of those deals you hoped he fell to you?
Yeah, I mean, even though the way the season went, and Chase Burns a bad man too now. I mean, the kid they were teammates at Wake Forest, and Wake Forest had 3 of the top 10 picks last year. They had Chase Burns, Nick Kurtz, and Seaver King, and they're all phenomenal.
Yeah,
but I mean, you guys saw Paul Skeens last year pitch, started the All-Star game. Chase Burns ain't much behind that as far as a pure talent standpoint. And in between all 3, I mean, it's hard to say what Skeens doing what he did, but if Nick Kurtz was a consolation prize between Paul Skeens, Chase Burns, and Nick Kurtz, I still might take Nick Kurtz. I mean, that's how he's a bad man.
You think he could be in Sacramento this year with the A's?
I'm almost expecting it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to put pressure and I'm on TV. I'm live here, so I can't run away from the comment. But at some point, it's a good over-under, July 1st. But I think he's got a good chance to be in the major leagues. And if I say July 1st, I'd say before then.
And I know you still believe in Tyler Soderstrom. Where do you think his journey, because the bat plays, where does his journey take him defensively?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I've said Carlos Delgado in the past, as far as a guy that was a catcher, first base, athletic enough to, entertain some outfield, power to all fields. Think his recognition last year definitely improved. You guys saw it. He's still 23 years old.
Yeah, he's a young man.
Yeah, 23 years old, slugged 450 last year in the major leagues. So, yeah, he's got a chance to pop you 25. When he gets his man strength at 25 years old, Tyler Soderstrom is going to be the real deal, no question. So, yeah, it's a good problem. It's a good situation. I mean, that's kind of, we were talking earlier this morning about the great Cleveland, the Guardians now, but they were the Indians in the mid-90s. And they had Brian Giles and they had Sean Casey, guys they took, in the draft, mid-90s, and they traded those guys. And honestly, even in retrospect, there's no way they could have fit those guys in.
Richie Sexton, too.
Yeah, Richie Sexton, too. There's literally all Brian Giles, Richie Sexton, Sean Casey. When you got Manny Ramirez on those teams batting 7th, and Jim Thome batting 8th, there literally was, and Eddie Murray is a DH. Yeah. They had no room for those guys.
They were so stacked. Yeah. Your fellow Arizona Wildcat, Kenny Lofton in center.
Yeah, that was a coup right there. They traded Kenny Lofton, played in the Final Four. He's still the Arizona all-time steal leader in basketball. Signed 16th round in college hoops in baseball draft. by the Astros, hit 300 in A ball, skipped Double-A, hit 320 in Triple-A, got a taste of the big leagues with the Astros, got traded for Eddie Tabanese, and he's in my Hall of Fame. No question, should be in Cooperstown. Kenny Lofton, shout out.
Yeah, I agree. Commander? Kenny Lofton,
I
look at his
think,
career.
I think Kenny Lofton's a Hall of Fame.
I mean, some of the guys we talk about all the time, I'm like, Kenny Lofton's better than they are.
I'll pull up his numbers real quick. I mean, his WARs, I think he has the WAR. We always look at the threshold of 60 WARs. The guy didn't help
he's
him.
there.
68.4.
Yeah, I don't know how he's not in.
I mean, Kenny Lofton, if you go 80s, 90s, early 2000s, obviously Ricky Henderson's the GOAT. Give Tim Raines his credit. So that's the best leadoff hitter. Then Tim Raines is number 2. Then in that era, Kenny Lofton, between those 3 guys, he's 3rd. But then when he played for a decade by himself after those guys, he was the best leadoff hitter in baseball. That was a Gold Glove center fielder that added excitement and has longevity and excellence. He's in my Hall of Fame. He should be in Cooperstown for sure.
All right, let's end on this. Where do the A's need to go now in these meetings?
Yeah, I think that the theme is, why not add another high-caliber starting pitcher? We're talking about third base as well. I got a lot of confidence in Brett Harris. Brett Harris, a kid out of Gonzaga, came up last year. He tasted the big leagues, hit a couple home runs, played awesome defense. And if you look at his minor league numbers, he had an 850 OPS in the minors, sailed through high A, torched Double-A, hit a bump in the road towards the end of Triple-A in 2023. So when he got called up last year, that was the first time that he was kind of in a lull offensively in his minor league career, hit the 2 home runs early, but he was still figuring some things out. So he didn't come up to the big leagues with momentum offensively, had a couple nagging injuries. So, yeah, obviously you can't say he's going to be the guy to start the season, but I think Brett Harris is more talented and more consistent than he showed last year in the major leagues. But, yeah, we're still on the hunt for fortifying that position and, augmenting. We had plenty of young kids last year that performed well, starting pitchers in the big leagues. But, along with Severino, if we can get another high-end guy, that'd be exciting. And with our young core, with Mason Miller in the back end, it's going to be fun out there in the Central Valley. It's going to be rocking.
All right, my friend. We need to see you more often on A's Cast Live.
Yeah, I mean,
we need some more Billy O in our life.
I love, I like the bright lights. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
It's hard to get. It's hard to track you down.
Yeah, so I mean, it's between, because I also love the grind. So you got a guy that's going to be out there doing his thing and ripping and running and seeing all these guys, major league, minor league, high school, college, Double-A, Triple-A, before they get to the show, or out there in a trade perspective. But yeah, it's nice to, be straddled up behind home plate at a major league game, at our games, and get the microphone in front, television and radio, and it's good to see the smiles. And once you do the shows, I always play it back, and it's a great vehicle, and Towny's awesome here. So I love doing it, and once you strap it on and got the microphone here, I'm all about it. But yeah, I mean, I got plenty of I'm platinum on the miles too in the air going to games.
I hear you are the leader in Marriott miles. Quickly, when you talk about all the traveling that you do, so many people talk about data in our game. It's so important. But how important is it for you, for Billy Owens, that you need to see it yourself? You just don't want to read the data.
Yeah, I want to be a valedictorian in both. You want to be at the field every day, seeing guys, reading movements and understanding makeup and seeing the explosiveness and the consistency on the field. But you also, like anything else, you got to be a valedictorian of knowing the data, understanding what the numbers means, how it translates to each level, what the park factors are, hot, cold, buy low, sell high. It's all part of it. I mean, it's great that, the game that Abner Doubleday created, and we're sitting here going into 2025, still the greatest game in the world. I'm honestly, with my football background, I'm still a sports advocate of multiple things. And I was even rocking that Caitlin Clark this year out there for that WNBA. So I'm a man for all seasons, but baseball to me is still the greatest game in the world. Blessed to be here. I mean, it's fun. I mean, Juan Soto, him doing his thing, him being a Dominican Ted Williams is exciting here. Sevy up there going from New York to Sacktown is pretty cool. And it's just the excitement here in Dallas is palpable. Winter meetings. Can't wait to see what transpires. On the hunt for another big fish up there in that starting pitching. And we'll see where it goes, man. What a time. It's baseball. It's the golden age right now. Baseball's never been better. These athletes are bigger, faster, stronger. The technology's more advanced. I love the past. I embrace history, but the game's never been better, and it's going forward. It's exciting. Go Athletics.
No better way to end session 1, day 2 here at the winter meetings. We will be back at 2 o'clock. Quickly, who are we going to have on the program?
Tentatively, right now, we're going to have Will Venable, new manager of the White Sox.
Will's big time, man. We actually interviewed him before Kotsay. Love Kots. Glad Kots got the job. But Will was definitely at that time a tremendous manager in waiting, another Bay Area guy. Max Venable, his father, played for the Giants. Big nugget on Will you guys can learn today. Will didn't even play high school baseball his senior year. He was like a big-time basketball recruit, dropped 20 at Cameron Indoor Stadium, met his wife there at Duke, but now played 8 years in the major leagues, sweet swinger, just like his father. And for him, he was a bench coach on Bruce Bochy's staff that won the World Series in 2023, and now he's going to be the White Sox manager. Couldn't be more excited.
He interviewed for the A's job?
Yeah,
okay,
he interviewed. Yeah,
that's a good nugget.
Yeah.
See? This is why we got
There
Billy.
you go.
Oh.
Dave, go ahead, Billy. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Dave Roberts will be on it right after him.
Heard of him?
Oh, Dave Roberts is actually I played at Arizona at the same time Dave Roberts played at UCLA. And Aaron Boone played at USC at the same time. So it's kind of funny to see that their successes going back to our college days in the major leagues. And honestly, I had a text where I was so excited to text Dave Roberts after he won his second World Series. Couldn't be more happy. This Dave Roberts, even back then, I mean, the nicest guy you ever see, stole that huge base for the Boston Red Sox. Now he's a 2-time World Series winning manager. And Aaron Boone is honestly, I think Aaron Boone's from a Hall of Fame family. He's still a champion. His grandfather, Ray, played in the major leagues. His father, Bob, caught the most games ever in Major League Baseball history. His brother, Brett, had a 40 home run season for the Seattle Mariners and actually played against both Brett and Aaron in college. So, yeah, it's what a time, man. You guys are rocking that West Coast flavor here, huh?
What else?
We have Jesse.
You got the encyclopedia here.
Jesse Rogers from ESPN. The interview we did with Stephen Vogt yesterday.
Stephen Vogt, I believe. Manager of the year, huh?
We taped Stephen Vogt, but Stephen Vogt will be on in the second half.
I believe in Stephen Vogt.
Pirates manager and our good friend Derek Shelton.
Shelley actually played against Shelton. He was on the same team with Derek Jeter, 1993 Greensboro Hornets, Yankees.
And then we have Nick Kroll, the president of baseball ops for the Reds.
And Nick Kroll, actually, he started his career. He did everything from soup to nuts for the Oakland A's. Finished on the scouting department before he went to the Reds as director of pro scouting, rose all the way to president of baseball operations. You won't find a nicer human being than Nick Kroll. And he just hired Terry Francona, fellow Arizona Wildcat, Golden Spikes Award winner, and a national champion, Terry Francona, and a World Series champion manager. Actually, the first game I ever played professional baseball, I played for the Kane County Cougars. And the manager of the South Bend White Sox that day was Tito Francona. So life comes full circle.
And just like that, we are done. We'll be back in an hour and a half with that exciting second half show. So many great guests. Billy, you're the best, my man. You are the best. There's no question.
Tanny, I love being here, man. I love seeing that lights, that Oakland, the Sacramento Athletics emblem up there, going to Vegas soon. So it's awesome to be an Athletic. Love the green and gold. Been blessed to be here 27 years, and it's going to be exciting to see it going forward.
All right, we'll see you in an hour and a half right here on A's Cast Live.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.